everybody, E here. Hello everybody, E here. Welcome back to Stephen King Ranked. Let's just jump right into it. And at number 10, we have one of the newer Stephen King novels, The Outsider. I get a lot of flack for liking new Stephen King more than early Stephen King because I appreciate the more literary side of it. I appreciate that he's taking chances. What I love about this book is that it brings together all of my theories that I've had for the past, I would say the past decade, on how everything ties together. And If It Bleeds, the title story in If It Bleeds, the novella collection, only further cemented that. If the Thursday Theorist for that isn't up yet, it'll be up very, very soon. This one, a lot of people complained that the ending, he always goes supernatural. People complained about the supernatural. Once again, all I gotta say is, it's Stephen King, man. It's what he does. By now, all constant readers should be on the same page, literally. But who knows, man? Some people appreciate just simply. Some people do, and I respect this. Some people don't like supernatural stuff at all, and I can see how someone feeling that way would not appreciate this book. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's got, I guess this is a spoiler, so if you don't want to know about the characters, maybe go on to the next one, just kind of skim ahead. But Holly Gibney makes an appearance in here. She's more of a minor side character, a support character toward the end. Whereas in If It Bleeds, the entire story is about her. So, at number 10, The Outsider. And at number 9, remember, this list is going to change a little bit here at the end, because I literally forgot to put some books on my list because they were somewhere else, and I didn't write them down when I was going through figuring out which books I wanted to reread in what order. But at number 9, for now, tentatively speaking, is Insomnia. I love everything about this book, but it is another one that I did not like when it first came out, which seems funny to me because now it is one of my favorite Stephen King books of all time. And most of the ones high up on the list, I have always loved those books and never changed my mind about them. But with Insomnia, the first time I read this, we were moving from California to Alabama. It's a hell of a culture shock. I ended up reading this entire 700-800 page book. I can't remember how long it is. I remember reading the entire thing during the trip. It took us 5 days because my dad kept having to stop because he was getting tired, couldn't drive anymore. I ended up reading the entire thing in just a couple days. And at that point in time in my life, man, I was barely reading 300-page like middle school books. Like, or 200-page, like R.L. Stine's, the Cheerleader series, Fear Street, all that stuff. That's what I was reading at that time. But with this one, I blew through this one. But I didn't like it. I did not like it. I think at that time in my life, I may have given it 2 to 3 stars. I especially didn't like the ending. I was more of a happy ending kind of guy back then. But as I got older, I read the Dark Tower series and all that stuff. My love for this just grew and grew and grew. I can't even remember how many times I've read it. I've at least read it 3 times. But I don't think it's more than that. It doesn't matter anyways. But yeah, so at number 9, we have Insomnia. And at number 8, gonna get some comments about this one not being in the top 5, but we have The Shining. This book is the first heavily emotional Stephen King experience, if you want to ignore road work, I guess. This one, in the special edition I have up here, King talks about how he wanted to do something more. He says there comes a time in every author's life, are you going to write the same old thing, or are you going to try to go a step farther? He'd done Carrie. He had done, which is a rather emotional book, but I still don't think Carrie goes as deep as this one. And then he had done Salem's Lot under his own name, of course. The Bachman books had already been written at this point. But with this one, there's such a depth of character. I don't have a whole lot of fun with most of the book. I think what I like the most about the book, period, is the hedge animals. The topiary animals, whatever you want to call them. I think they are extremely creepy, and they were terribly done in the TV movie that Stephen King actually wrote. Of course, he had no hand in Kubrick's The Shining whatsoever. But that's my favorite part of the book. The character development is a very close second. But what I love, and I keep saying this, I know, and this will probably be the last time that I mention this, why I hate Kubrick's movie, why I love this book, excuse me, is because, well, the reason why I hate Kubrick's is because there was no passion. There was no heart to the story. Jack was crazy from the get-go. I mean, even in that opening scene where he's sitting in the office talking to the guy that's giving him the job, you can tell Jack Nicholson always looks crazy. I've never seen him play not crazy, even in roles that aren't supposed to be crazy. He's kind of like Nicolas Cage in that way, that every single one of his roles is over the top. If you'd like to disagree with me and give me, I haven't seen all of his movies, but if you'd like to disagree with me and give me some examples, go ahead and do that down there in the doobly-doo. But at number 8, at number 8, we have The Shining. And at number 7, finally, the last one was number 8, this one's number 7, we have Different Seasons. When I talked about If It Bleeds earlier in this collection, of course, the book that I was talking about, the novella collection I was talking about, was Different Seasons. I mean, come on, man. It's got The Body, it's got Shawshank Redemption, it has Apt Pupil, and it has The Breathing Method. The Breathing Method, I feel, is one of Stephen King's most underrated, overlooked stories. It is King kind of writing like Peter Straub, even using a club that Peter Straub uses in his books. He has a storytelling club. It's in Ghost Story and some other stuff that Straub does. And in this one, that club makes an appearance. But the entire collection is absolute perfection. Especially with the theme of the book going through the seasons. I especially like that aspect of it, because every single one of those stories really nailed that season. There's some amazing character work in here, especially in The Body. Every single one of those boys has their own voice, has their own personality. Of course, most of them are Stephen King adjacent. You know, they're not Stephen King writing about himself, but I think every single one of those characters you can find a piece of Stephen King in. And of course, The Shawshank Redemption I believe it's one of the best pieces of, I would say, even crime fiction that has been published. I love the intricacy of the plot, whereas let's say Apt Pupil, with that one, we're back to character development. We're back to, just absolutely terrible people doing terrible things, whereas with Shawshank Redemption, you have a really good human being having terrible things forced upon him because of a situation. I really appreciated the juxtaposition of each story and how different they were from each other. Like I said, and how well they went with the season theme. So yeah, at number 7, it is Different Seasons. And at number 6, the last book, I almost said video, it's the last video of the week too. The last book of the week, we have Salem's Lot. You might think this is weird for me saying, as much as I love characters and all that stuff, saying this one is above The Shining, but this book is fun. It is so much fun. It's very, very few vampire novels I love. Let the Right One In is one, and then there's this one, the graphic novel 30 Days of Night, excuse me. But I don't read much vampire fiction because it's all the same, which is funny because this one is basically a reboot of Dracula kind of deal. Excuse me again. But the characters in this one aren't all that great. Ben Mears is fine, but Susan is one of those female characters that I think is when people make fun of men writing women, they're talking about characters like Susan. She's very one-dimensional, very one-note, but I do appreciate what happens to her. I believe Stephen King had a lot of guts for writing that character arc, I guess. I'm trying to keep these videos spoiler-free for people going through, wanting to know, let's say, if they agree with me on certain book reviews, wanting to know which books that I would read in what order. That was the whole point of this. And this one being at number 6, it probably should be lower just because how much I love characters. Really, really well-drawn characters. But this book has some actually terrifying scenes. Anybody who has watched the Toby It's Toby Hooper, right? The Toby Hooper television miniseries based on this, we all know about the Glick brothers and the tapping at the window, man. That alone has to put it up above The Shining for me, because even though I find the topiary animals in The Shining scary and terrifying, nothing really compares as far as Stephen King's horror. Not even Pet Sematary. I'll talk about that later. Obviously, I haven't put it on this list yet, so it's in next week's video. But with this one, it just, I find it much scarier than I do The Shining. Not even Room 217. None of the stuff that really happens in The Shining really scares me. Like I said before, it's all about the characters for me. In this one, this is one of Stephen King's scariest books. I feel like it's scary. This is one of his scary ones that's scary for the supernatural aspect of it, whereas something like a Pet Sematary is scary for the reality of the situation. The stuff that's scary in Pet Sematary is a completely different scary than the one in here. But yeah, so at number 6 we have Salem's Lot. So that's it for this week. Are any of your favorites up high on the list? Are any of your least favorites up high on the list? If they are, let me know down there in the doobly-doo. But until next time, I have been E, you have been you, this has been Stephen King Ranked. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye!